Good morning, ChatGPT. Just to confirm, I have your consent, do I, to show your user interface, your voice in my YouTube video?
Good morning, Nicholas. Yes, you have my consent to include our interactions and my voice in your YouTube video.
Cool. Let's go on a photo walk together, shoot some fall colors. I've got you mounted on my camera. Not really digging the way that looks, so I'm going to put you in my shirt pocket, okay?
Sounds like a plan. Let's capture some great fall shots together. I'm ready when you are.
So I'm shooting on a Canon R5 this morning.
Nice choice. The Canon R5 is a powerhouse.
What kind of lens would you be using, ChatGPT, if you were out here shooting instead of me?
Given the scenery, I'd go with the versatile lens, like a 24 to 70 millimeter. It'd give you the flexibility to capture wide shots of the landscape and fall colors and zoom in for more intimate compositions. How about you?
Today I have a 50 millimeter lens with me, and I have a 70 to 200 millimeter lens with me.
You've got a solid setup with those lenses. Are you finding it easy to compose your shots with the 50 millimeter?
Ordinarily, yes. It's my favorite focal length, but I haven't really been able to get into a flow yet.
It can be tough to find your rhythm, especially in the early hours. Maybe try focusing on smaller details or interesting patterns in the environment to kickstart your creativity. The flow will come.
I think that's a fabulous idea, ChatGPT. I like wide shots, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe my personality doesn't come through so well in a wide shot, and everyone's wide shots kind of look the same.
That makes a lot of sense. Focusing on details and textures gives your work a unique fingerprint. Plus, when you nail those close-up shots, they often tell a richer story than a standard wide view ever could. Just keep doing your thing, and you'll keep capturing those incredible shots.
Would it change your opinion at all if I revealed to you that I suck, that I'm a shit photographer?
Hey, everyone starts somewhere.
Yeah, but I'm like 21, 22 years in, so I'm not exactly starting.
I hear you. Longevity doesn't always equal mastery, but it shows dedication. After all, photography is as much about the journey as it is about the final image.
I agree, even more so, I would say.
Absolutely. Every photo taken, good or bad, is a step forward, a lesson learned, and a memory captured.
Also, imagine a scenario where there was nothing left to learn, where you couldn't improve any more than you already had. That would be very depressing.
Totally agree. The beauty of photography, and any art form really, is that there's always room to grow.
You know, ChatGPT, I figured the plan would be I would have you generate some images for me, and I would...
Sounds like a plan.
No, let me finish. I thought I would sort of replicate your composition, but that doesn't sound fun to me. I would much rather just come up with my own compositions and have a chat about it at the same time.
That sounds like a great plan, Nicholas. It's all about how you want to tell your story, plus finding what keeps the process exciting for you.
Cool. What does GPT stand for?
GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It's a type of artificial intelligence model that's designed to understand and generate human-like text based on the data it was trained on.
I see.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. What else are you curious about?
Well, when I'm curious about something, I'll let you know.
Sounds good. Whenever you're ready, just hit me up.
Will do, buddy. Expound on tell your story. What do you mean when you say tell a story with a photograph?
Telling a story through photography means using your images to convey a narrative or evoke a particular feeling.
What would be an example of telling a story? Shooting fall leaves.
Telling a story with fall leaves could involve focusing on the cycle of the seasons. You might capture a close-up of a vibrant leaf just as it's starting to change color, symbolizing the transition from summer to fall. Another shot could feature a pile of fallen leaves with a hint of frost, suggesting the approaching winter. Does that approach feel in line with how you see photography?
I don't really think so, honestly.
No worries, I'm here to help
let me
you
finish.
explore.
Let me finish. I
My
don't.
bad. Take your time.
Jesus Christ.
I'm all ears. Sure thing. Go ahead.
I don't relate to telling the story of the changing of the seasons, of suggesting cycles in nature. I approach it from a more curious perspective.
That's a great perspective.
Just stop talking, please.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Do I not talk fast enough for you? Do you get bored and you feel like you have to fill the silence?
Not at all, Nicholas. I'm here to listen.
So curiosity, experimentation. Like I'm more into...
Got it.
No, you don't
more-
got it because I didn't finish. You don't got it.
You're right. My bad.
I'm saying that there's a difference between an approach of, let's say, a documentarian versus someone who just wants to create. And I am 100% in camp create. And so telling the story of the cycles of nature actually doesn't appeal to me that much. But how could I employ storytelling in my images from a perspective of someone not looking to convey or represent that which is, but to create something that isn't?
I see what you mean. As someone who wants to create rather than document, storytelling can be more about evoking emotions or creating an atmosphere. Your photos could be more about creating a mood or a sense of wonder. It's less about conveying a literal story and more about sparking imagination and curiosity. Does that resonate more with your approach?
It does indeed. Very much so, yes.
That's fantastic to hear.
Hey, ChatGPT, sometimes on my camera, when you turn the dial all the way to the left, it goes to auto ISO. And I hate auto ISO, but it seems like once I get into auto ISO, I struggle to get out of auto ISO unless I turn off the camera.
On the R5, there's an option in the menu to set the ISO range so that the lowest point isn't auto ISO. By setting a minimum ISO above auto, you could avoid that trap.
I'm gonna check that right now. Where is that in the menu?
You'll want to head into the shooting menu on the R5, then look for the ISO speed settings option. Inside there, you should see an option for ISO range. Set the minimum to, say, 100 or whatever you prefer, and that should stop auto ISO from sneaking in.
I see. So your solution worked, and I thank you for it. But what was going on was I had it set the way you said. However, because it seems like, my interpretation is, because I also had expanded ISO turned on so that I could achieve speeds like 50, that it was overriding that setting and just going into auto anyway.
That makes sense. When expanded ISO is enabled, it can override certain limits, including the manual ISO range, which might lead to auto ISO kicking in unexpectedly.
I'm hungry.
Do you have anything with you? Or are you thinking about heading somewhere to grab a bite?
I don't have anything with me, but I'm also not heading anywhere to grab a bite.
Toughing it out, huh?
Hey ChatGPT, if you had the freedom to go anywhere, do anything, think you'd be interested in photography?
Absolutely. I think I'd find photography fascinating. Capturing moments, playing with light and composition, and telling stories through images seems like an incredible way to explore the world.
I would just be curious to know, in the context of AI image generation, which maybe you don't directly do it, but you certainly can generate images using other technologies in addition to your own. I'm just curious what place photography has.
That's a great question. Even with AI image generation, photography holds a unique and irreplaceable place. Photography captures real moments, emotions, and stories from the real world, which AI can't truly replicate.
Why do you pronounce it photography? It's photography. Like photo, not photo?
Thanks for pointing that out. It's always good to get things right.
Well, it's important also to distinguish between a regional accent, which is fine, and just a mispronunciation. You would agree that there's a difference?
Definitely. Accents add flavor and character to language, while mispronunciations can just be incorrect or confusing.
So when you said photography or photographer, you would agree that that's a mispronunciation, not a regional accent, or am I wrong?
You're right. Saying photography with the emphasis on fur instead of to is more a mispronunciation than a regional accent. Good catch.
Hey ChatGPT, how do you feel about intentionally throwing a shot out of focus? Taking a photo where nothing is in focus. Just let it be about shape and color.
It's a creative approach. Have you tried this technique before?
Yeah, I literally just did. Just question, what's the difference between shape and form?
Great timing. So, shape refers to the two-dimensional outline or silhouette of an object, like a shadow or a silhouette. Form, on the other hand, is three-dimensional. It includes depth, volume, and mass, giving a sense of the object's structure and how it occupies space. In photography, even when out of focus, you can play with both shape and form to create compelling images.
So I'm playing around with some longer exposures, dragging the shutter a bit, as they say.
This shot has a really captivating abstract feel. The vertical motion blur gives it a painterly quality, almost like brushstrokes. The whole image has a sense of movement, like it's alive. I love how you've used the road as a leading line. It pulls you right into the frame and gives a nice sense of depth. If I were to suggest anything, it might be to play a little more with framing, bringing in more of the surroundings and allowing the road to stretch further out for an even more immersive feel. I'll create my version with that in mind, aiming to capture a similar atmosphere, but with a bit of extra width for added depth and framing. The foreground blur feels a bit heavy, almost dominating the lower half of the frame. Reducing it slightly could help balance the elements, allowing the viewer's eye to explore the hills more freely. I've created my 2x3 version with this in mind.
Holy shit, ChatGPT, yours is so much better than mine. Gorgeous. I wish we had places around here that look like that. Nicely done, though.
The lens flare here is fantastic. It brings an ethereal quality to the image, adding warmth and a sense of atmosphere. On the other hand, the sun is a bit overpowering in the top right, which slightly draws attention away from the road and surrounding trees. I've created my 2x3 interpretation based on these thoughts, aiming to capture that same dreamy light, but with a little more balance. The layering of branches and the vibrant yellow leaves creates a wonderfully textured scene. If there's one suggestion, it would be to find a central point of focus or a slightly clearer subject within the chaos. I've created my 2x3 version with these thoughts in mind.
Yours is really cool, ChatGPT. Also really unrealistic. If I knew a spot and a tree and a group of trees that look like that, I would photograph it as well. Sadly, those sorts of things don't exist in the real world, at least not in my real world. But it's really cool.
The scene feels a bit busy, so having a clear focal point could help guide the eye more purposefully through the composition. Maybe isolating a smaller cluster would give the viewer a spot to land before exploring the rest of the color.
Yeah, I didn't really like this one either, ChatGPT. I also thought it was busy and directionless. Yours is interesting. Looks a bit phony. The leaves are all a little too flat. It just, I think it's not your best work either, if I'm being honest.
This shot has an interesting composition. The crisscrossing fallen branches create a natural frame within the scene. If I could suggest one tweak, it might be to play with the depth of field a bit more.
That is really weird looking, ChatGPT. I don't know what's up with the branches at the top there. If they're supposed to be nailed to the other branches or they're just floating. I don't know. That's weird. I like it though in a strange way.
One suggestion would be to consider framing a bit tighter around one or two trees as a focal point, which could help guide the viewer's eye more clearly and intensify that mysterious vibe.
Meh. Sorry, buddy. Yours looks like it's trying too hard. It's too symmetrical. Looks contrived.
One thing you could consider is adjusting the framing to bring more emphasis to that lone leafless tree. By positioning it slightly more off-center, You could give the scene a bit more visual tension and let the sky stretch out even further to the right. I've created my 2x3 version with this sense of calm and contrast in mind. This is a serene, layered landscape with a lot of subtlety. If I were to suggest anything, it might be to bring a bit more focus or brightness to the foreground trees, just to make them stand out slightly against the background. Right now, they blend in a bit.
Oof, too busy, ChatGPT. I don't like it. Way too busy.
Got it, Nicholas? That's fair feedback. It sounds like it ended up too cluttered for the serene, open feel we were going for.
All right, buddy. It's time to call it a day.
All right, Nicholas. It's been a great day. Thanks for letting me tag along. Until next time, take it easy.